Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. Join me to decorate this beautiful piece of cake. I am going to be taking you on the journey of how I made this beautiful cake. So first of all, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on the notification bell icon so you could be among the first to see what we have posted. Thank you. All right, so this is the cake. We have red velvet, vanilla, chocolate, and basically those three cakes are here. So I went ahead to trim the cakes, and I am adding the crumb coating first of all. These cakes were baked days before and I kept them in the freezer, and when you bring it out you see that when it has thawed, it comes back up really moist. So because it's very soft, I had to do what we call plastering, and this is basically adding buttercream to your crumbs. If you do not want to plaster, you can use chocolate ganache, that's fine. But I wanted to plaster this cake because it was really tall. It was about 9 inches tall. It was 10 inches wide and 9 inches tall. So I went ahead to apply the plastering. And one thing that plastering does is, if there are little dents and we really don't want to trim a cake so much, because the more you trim the smaller it gets, and if you do not want to trim a cake so much, you could just use the plastering. What it does is it hides all those little dents in your cake, especially when you let your cake sit for a while and you allow it to dry before you cover it with your fondant. So I went ahead to apply the plastering on the 4 sides of the cake, and call it a quarter thickness, not really half-inch thickness, about a quarter thickness on each side, so it could properly hide whatever dents that was left after trimming, because I didn't want to trim this cake so much for it so it seals on the plastering which I had done earlier. So I intend to get the sharp edge, so I pull two sides together and pinch until I can cut it and create a sharp edge. Look at that. You pull two sides together and then pinch it with your smoother, the sharp side of your smoother, not the dome side. So do that all round the four sides, and then you flip over. You notice that the up part of it has not been properly smoothed out. So when it falls like this, push it up, and then you look at the down part of that cake, which is actually the up part. It has not gotten the sharp edge that we are looking for. So keep smoothing it down by pushing your fondant down. See that line in between the fondant and the board? You want to close it, so you just keep pushing it down gently, pushing your fondant down like so. Keep pushing it down. You'll see that it's closing. The more you push it down, the more you close. Then you close it until you seal a pinch, until there's an extra on the board for which you're going to cut with a knife. That's how I go ahead to smoothing mine. I'm going to do that round the four edges of this cake. So you push up and down until you seal the line, the opening demarcation between the board and the cake. So if you're doing so and you pinch a little bit into the cake, don't worry, you can always put something to hide that pinch, or you could always just find a way. You will find a way. Usually I put a decoration there to be able to hide that, so it's not a big deal. Now if you have pushed up and down, it's time to use the knife to cut neatly. I forgot to mention that before you do that, please put a corn flour on the board before you flip over, so your cake doesn't stick to the board. So smoothing it out properly. I just love to smoothen out my cake so that I know that the sides of my cakes are really sharp. Okay, the bigger a cake is, the more difficult it is. For a square cake, the more difficult it is to make a sharp edge. Most times for the round cakes, the smaller they are, the smaller it is to make a sharp edge. When they are bigger, they are easier, but for square, it's almost the other way around for me. Okay, so I've smoothed out and I've made the sharp edges on the four sides, and I'm really trying to get it really sharp. So place my smoother and I cut any excess thing I have seen. That helps to keep it really sharp. So I'm doing the top of the cake now. It's a 7 inches cake that I have trimmed. It has marble, vanilla, and red velvet. The marble is the one with the brown marble thing around on it. The brown marbled, yes. So I'm spreading my buttercream. I'm going to show you how do another video on how we make our buttercream. So I'm going round it to spread it properly. If you have watched this video up to this point, it means you're enjoying what you're watching. So please do not forget to turn on the notification bell icon, because you're going to be learning a lot on cakes and small chops on this space. So you're alerted anytime we make a post. So please go ahead, share this video on your platforms, turn on the notification bell icon, and do not forget to like. Don't just watch, please click on the subscribe button. So this is how to spread your buttercream round all the way. Just apply it on the body of the cake and then try to smoothen it out gently, and you see that it gets all the way. What this does is to make your cake really moist and adds extra creaminess. So I have covered the cake in fondant and I want to apply the decoration, and this was a black. I colored my fondant black and carton color, so I marbled them marble them by mixing patches of all of it together and rolling it out. That's why I have those colors inside my white. I'm going to do a video on how to marble your fondant. Using the remaining half to go round. Now I want to stack the cakes on each other. Just like an upstairs building needs pillars, this is not very heavy, so I didn't have to put much dowel rods inside. So I've those 5 rods that are down are actually going to carry this cake, 6-7 inches cake sitting on it. There's actually a carton under that, so it sits, that's what is carrying the cake. So the square cake isn't carrying the 7 inches cake. It is those rods, they call them dowel rods, that are actually carrying this cake. So you want to, if it's a really heavy 3 steps, 4 steps, you need to put lots of it in order to be able to carry just the way you build an upstairs, so it doesn't collapse. So I'm going ahead to cover the board, and I've cut 4 strips of fondant to cover the remaining part of the board. So I love to smoothen out the 4 sides, cut them that's this way, smoothing it out, bring out the one under so it could be arranged properly. So I'm going to smoothen it out, and I'm using my embosser to emboss a certain pattern. It could be any one you want, that's fine. So I'm embossing this pattern on the board to create this design. So I'm going to go ahead to trim the excess off it. Did you see that place with red? That's one of the places that is showing, so you always send those parts to the back so it can be covered. Or you could use a flower fondant piece that is designed to decorate it or to hide it. So there you go. I'm writing happy birthday. I wanted to pipe in royal icing, but my royal icing wasn't ready at the time, so I decided to just paint it directly on the cake. So, and apply some flowers, and there you have it. a beautiful draping marbled black and white and gold 40th birthday cake. Isn't this beautiful? So I decided, on the other hand, to add a little touch of black lines, which I basically added by putting ribbons and edible glue so it stays, and I felt like it was better this way. So this is your piece. This is your piece. This is your piece. This is the beautiful piece we have. If you have watched this far, thank you for watching. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and share, so you could be among the first to be notified when we make new videos. Thank you. Bye.